it for some reason. Well, okay. I guess we're live. Yep, we're live. um, okay, it's Anita's Crafts. And then the link, the reminder was actually linked to the site. Let's see. There. Yeah. YouTube. YouTube Anita Dean. Or the link itself should be right on that reminder. If you click on that purple screen, it should take you right there. Oh, okay. In Facebook, I put a reminder, which you said you saw. And that reminder in the little purple picture about the card class, if you click on that, it's supposed to be linked directly to the YouTube page. Right. Yeah. And you just click on that and it should take you right to the page. Yeah, my hands are there. Yes. You just, well, you can hang on and I'll just go ahead and kind of get started. Um, I'm not saying that. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the old one. Um, you want to go to the live one. My problem is, let me look and see if I can see something different here. No, I'm on the page. Well, let's see. You were there, but you left. Maybe because the live isn't. I don't know. I'm still learning this silly stuff. Okay, the purple on the site would be from May. The link was on the Facebook page, the purple thing. That was the link to today's class. Yeah, that's the link that was on Facebook. That's why I send the reminder to make it easier. grief. Well, I know Evelyn had a little trouble last time, but she finally found me when I was going. Had some paper out. What I've got out in front right now, if you get across to it, I have these. Last year, they're real popular, real red and white adhesive back peppermints. And they have a sale going on. It's called a sweet sale. And what it is you can get until the end of the month, you can purchase a sweet and get a second one half price, 50% off. But this also applies to the products as well. For example, I have it out of my reach, but I had I ordered a packet of the textured paper. I can't remember the name of it, but the designer series paper, and which was part of a suite. And then I got this, and because this was a lesser price item, I got this at half off. But I thought I'd mention it because it is part of the suite sale, and it was so popular last year. I couldn't even get them at Christmas time. They were so popular. So I thought I'd get a few this time because I thought they were cute. Yeah. So anyway, that's let me see what I can do. Let me fancy. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, I just pulled me up. What I did, I just went in there and I clicked right on the Creating Joy Through Card Making with Anita, and it brought me right to my live from Facebook. I was on Facebook, and I just clicked it, and it brought me right in there. The other people should be joining us pretty soon too. Oh, and I'm getting another call. Hello? Hello, Anita. It's Evelyn. Right. Hi. I have a new computer because the other one died. Uh-huh. And I cannot connect with you over live chat because I'm not sure where to go with that with this new computer. But I can see and hear you. So I am here. Okay, you can see and hear me. All right. Okay, so you could see, because I was just talking with Veronica, who was also having some difficulties, and I went back to the Facebook page where I had sent the reminder, which you wouldn't normally see because you don't go on Facebook, and and I just clicked on that little reminder, the purple screen, the picture, and it brought me right back to my page. So Veronica is still trying to figure it out, but as long as you're here, I can go ahead and get started. Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks. Well, I don't. Well, we'll have to figure that one out. I'm just not a tech specialist. Okay. All right. Bye bye. Veronica, you still there? The peppermints? The peppermints? All right, good. Evelyn's on, and I've got somebody else too. All right, great. Thanks. Bye. Well, we had a little hiccup, and not being the tech savvy person, I do my best. Keep learning. Okay, I brought these out because I wanted to point out that we have a sale going on. It's called the Sweet Sale, And what it is Stampin' Up! If you buy a suite, the first one is full price, and the second suite would be half off. They would take the lesser costing one that you get half off of it. In this case, I bought some designer series paper that was from a suite, and I bought this, which is also a previous suite product. This was last year, but they sold out and I couldn't get any, and they were so cute. And when I saw them, I thought I'd like a little, pack of them. So I went ahead and got it. So I got this half off. The sale is for the whole suites or even just suite products. I went in and I purchased for the Imperfection set. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. But I went and bought more paper because the paper's pretty, and I was able to get one pack, and the second pack was half price. So it's worthwhile. There's several different suites to consider. You can look up the suite items. Probably online would be best because you could get a complete list of what the suites are there. But it's a great opportunity to save money, especially if you're wanting to buy a whole suite and have been looking and admiring at another one. You get a half price off is pretty good. Anyway, I want to get started because these cards are gorgeous. This is the first one we're going to do. It's called a fan card. And what it is, you're using, this is Wildflower birthday paper I'm using here. And it's another, well, I don't know if it's still one of the suites or not. It could be. But anyway, what I did here was I just used the paper and I coordinated the cardstock to go along with it. And you all have the items to prepare this particular card, but I wanted to show some other varieties. This is using the Regal winter paper, which I love so much. I just wanted to play with it some. And then this was the paper we got as a freebie from Celebration, and I was playing with the colors there. So I wanted you to have a chance to see some variety. So even though we're doing this card, don't limit yourself. It's a fun card to make. It's a bigger card though, and I wanted to point that out. It's 5 by 7, and the weight of it is such that you would need extra postage if you're mailing it. I like the card so much. I already made one for my girlfriend and sent it off for her birthday, which was in May. And then let's get started with the first kit. I've got my little directions with me because it helps me stay on track with what I'm doing. All right, let's see. Make sure I've got all my parts. Okay. In your kit, you'll find a couple of Post-it notes. Inside are the little, and I covered them over already. There we are. Are the little die cuts that you can use to decorate the front of your card. That's what those are. And then we have our card base. And we have the pink inside panel and then the white piece, which will also eventually end up in the inside. And then we have the pink cardstock. You have 2 pieces of pink cardstock, a blue cardstock, the designer series paper, and then we have also the gold covered vellum, which we'll be using. And somehow we got a little bit of glue on here. Glue eraser to the rescue. Come on. There we are. I don't know what I did before I found that. Okay. So, and then also there's a piece of white paper to help you with the sentiment for the front. Now, generally, because they're doing this online, I can't do the stamping for you. I suggest you go through your kits and look at the instructions and select your sentiments early. I sometimes find that selecting the sentiments takes me a lot more time because I'm trying to imagine, okay, who is this card going to? What do I want it to say, or what feeling I want it to convey? And I actually held back on doing this one for a while, and then I ran across this sentiment, which actually came from this retired set, the Calming Camellia. I just happen to like the fonts on this one really well. And I got to thinking about it. And You're in My Thoughts Today could be used for any number of things. In this case, I did it for birthday. It could be, I'm just thinking of you and I wanted to, wish you the best, or I'm sorry you're having a difficult time. It could be any number of things, in which case you don't really have to do an inside sentiment. You just use that as a space to write your message. So I wanted to get those out of the way. Now I'm going to be pretty specific when it comes to how we're doing this. I'm going to need my paper trimmer. And I am going to use a pencil. Now this is dark cardstock, so it's a little harder to see. But I'm also going to follow along closely with my directions so I don't lead you astray. Now, I'm opening up the card base. And I'm going to measure 2 inches from the top left-hand corner. So 2 inches there. Okay. And then you can, let me get that back on the 2 inches mark. You can, on this trimmer, reach in and just make a little mark. Now, yeah, I can see that. You have to get it's right there, but you have to get the light just right for you to see it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mark that I made right here. I'm going to turn the card base upside down because it's a little easier for me to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to take that little mark and I'm going to put it right on the track for the paper trimmer. And I'm going to take the upper corner and place that right in the middle of the track. And I guess double check because I noticed that when I move one, the other tends to move. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to cut from this mark to this corner. We're taking a wedge out. So I'm going right like that. Boom. And that begins the fan fold. You're going to save this piece because it's going to be used later for this area here. Okay, so we're saving that. Okay, that's the first cut. All right, now the pink. Okay, the pink. The pink, the pink, the pink. All right. So what we're doing with the pink is we are going to mark the top at 2 3/4. So 2 3/4. Okay, I've lined it up. I'm just closing this. I'm going to move this out of my way. Okay, closing this. Now, of course, this is light cardstock, so you can see the mark a little easier. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's that little mark right there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is going to take and line up that mark on the track, and just like we did the other one, the corner is on the track as well. So once those are lined up, and I want to go from the other direction. Okay, once those are lined up, I can bring it right down, and I'm slicing a pink wedge off. Now, what's going to happen is that piece will be fitting here, and this piece, oh, wait a minute, it's not going to quite fit. What are we going to do? Well, I'm going to show you. Here's the trick. With this pink layer, okay, you're going to take the piece that we cut off. We're going to line it up at top here, and then I'm over here on this side. I'm cutting off 1/4 of an inch. I'm just lining it up. I'm going to bring my cutter blade up here. Okay, I'm lining it up, and I'm going to cut off 1/4 inch. Now, you can save that piece if you want, but we're not using that on the card. And now you'll have a piece that will go on here. Okay, that's going to be part of our layers. Now we're up to the Designer Series paper. All right, same idea. 2 1/2. 2 1/2. 2 1/2. I lined it up 2 1/2. Gonna make the little mark. All right, and then we're going to cut from that mark. Line up the mark. Line up the corner. Line up the mark. Okay. Now I'm going to suggest this now, but it's particularly for the vellum. When you're working with the paper trimmer, when you start to cut straight at a corner, especially when something's tough like the vellum, you might get a wrinkling effect. So sometimes it's better to have your everything lined up and then start kind of in the middle and bring it back. That way you won't have any wrinkled edges. Okay, now you have this, and you're going to need to cut off. This will be the other layer for here. You're going to need to cut off 1/2 inch. So again, I'm using this side of the trimmer, and I'm bringing this up, lining it up, make sure it's level, and go down. Okay, now this piece I saved to decorate on the inside. That will be later. All right, so we have now 3 layers. Uh-oh, something's not right there. Oh, that's why. Got it right. This part of the challenge of this card is making your pieces going the right direction. There we go. Anyway, that's going to be the layers for this very top section right here. This one right here. Okay, so those are ready. And these 3 are ready. Okay. Now we're going to work on this next section here. So this is the cardstock we're taking that's the same color as the base, which was Blueberry Bushel. And then we're going to cut diagonally from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. So lining up both corners on the track. I usually have to go back and forth a few times because when I correct the one, the other one likes to wiggle away. Okay, so, and I usually hold this firmly so it doesn't wiggle around. Okay, so then we have this piece here. All right, this is an extra piece. You won't be using that. You can save it for something else. All right, and then okay, Now we're going to do the same thing with the vellum. I'm taking, and this is the one I mentioned before, I'm taking the vellum, I'm lining the top left corner and the bottom right corner on the track, and then I'm going to make sure I put the cutting blade in the middle, holding this firmly. I do pressure. I don't know if it shows on the camera, but I do pressure to hold the paper or cardstock in place. And that will become the layer for this. But we have to get another layer. We have one more layer we need to do, and this is extra. Okay. Okay, the pink layer, which is 3.5 by 5.5, we're going to do the same cutting from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. And I'm making sure that they're lined up, holding it in place. Okay, now I can go up a little. Oh, I moved it. Hold on. This is the trickiest part of the card. Okay, here we go. So now we have our 3 layers. We have the pink, which allows the gold to really shine, and the dark, which blends in with the rest of the card. Okay, so we have our layers for the front. But what we're going to do now is we're going to switch to the inside. Well, let's see. Let's glue our layers. This is extra, by the way. Let's glue our layers first. I'm just going to add glue to the back of the Designer Series paper. See, I have wires in my way. Okay. And then we're lining it up. And I use the glue because I like to be able to wiggle it a little bit, because I can't see everywhere all at the same time. So, okay. There's one. You can put a weight on it if you want. I'm going to set it aside for the moment. Okay. And then this one, again, add the glue. I'm working on this middle wedge. Again, I'm using the forgiveness of the glue to line things up the way I like it. And then, now this is something that I thought was interesting, but because of the decoration on this vellum, usually the glue will show through the vellum, but because of the decorations on it, it doesn't seem to affect it. So I'm just going to do a strip of glue. Okay. And add it to this. Let's see if I can get this in there right. Okay. Now we have our layers. Layers, layers. Oh, last layer. Okay. All right. Now, same story. Just gluing these together. Like I said, the cutting actually was the trickiest part. And it took me, I'll be honest, it took me a few tries. I got it wrong a couple times, because I didn't have somebody showing me, really. They just kind of explained it, and I had to follow the directions, which can be challenging sometimes. Okay, I want that centered. Centered. Okay. And then we add the designer series paper. Okay. Now, I particularly liked this birthday paper because of the gold element to it. Now, what I'm going to do here, because I was trying to be careful and not overexceed, I see this as kind of, I don't know if you can see it very well. It's kind of, let's see. Yeah, it's wanting to stick up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that little strip that we cut off. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right on the end. This is one of my tricks. And then I kind of set it on here. It's already in place, so it's not going to be wiggling around. I'm just adding a little bit of glue, and that'll hold it down. This is a trick I use whenever I've put something down and I decide it's not adhering. Like, okay, here's another example. This end of the vellum. Okay, so I'm going to add a tiny bit of glue, and I'm going to put that right there and add it to the vellum. And I can hold that for a few seconds. Okay. So that is one of my tips for the day. Okay, now we have these glued together. We have this glued together. We have this glued together. Let that continue to dry. We're going to work on the inside. The inside piece is just going to go in and be centered. No biggie. Again, I'm just going in here and I'm using, I actually like this white background because when I'm working with dark cardstock, it helps me see more accurately what I'm doing and if I like what I'm doing. Okay. Now, you notice on the original card, that's all you see is the pink. If I were to put the white in as it is, you would see the white as well. We're going to cut part of that off. And because I don't know what sentiments you're choosing, you may want to delay putting this, gluing this inside until you have it stamped the way you like it. But for right now, we're going to cut it. Let's move this out of the way. We're going to cut it the same as we did the original DSP. So it's going to be at 2. We're going to mark it at 2 1/2. That right? Yeah. Two and 1/2. Did I get the mark on there? Yeah, I did. Okay. 2 1/2, and we're going to go down. Put the mark on the track. Put the corner on the track. If you can see that, yeah. Okay. All right. And then close it up and just go right up. Now, what this does, it allows you to put this in here and it won't be seen from the front. Now, what I did, I got to find it because I shuffled it around here. What I did was I took that piece that we cut off earlier and I added it to the bottom just for decoration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue on the bottom. Okay, come on. Okay. Now, because I like, I like the fact that the paper isn't really directional, so it can go any which way. I'll move this out of the way. I use the corner kind of help me make sure it's right where I want it to be. And bring this down a smidge. Okay. And then we can take our scissors and trim the excess off. And we have the inside piece ready to go. But we'll be putting that in a little later because I'm going to stamp a sentiment on it. First, we're going to assemble the front. The front's going to go fast, guys. Okay, here we go. The front. Going to line it up. All right. Put this on, leaving that border. And I'm, again, thankful for the liquid goo giving me some time to adjust. Okay. That's one. Now, this one, you're going to want to have this come to the corner, and you want to make sure that the top pieces stay within the bounds of the card. Now, you also want to make sure you don't put anything glue here because you don't want to glue the card shut. So you're going to kind of keep an eye on that. I'm grabbing my finger as a clue, and I'm just going to add some glue here and down like that. And I'm going to kind of angle it. Let's see how we're going. We should be good. Line it up with the corner. Okay. There we go. No telltale white glue on the back. All right. Next one. Going to line this up again. But now, just to give it some dimension, same premise. You don't want glue on the overlap part. Oh, I want my mini too. Okay, I'm going to use some dimensionals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of mark with my finger. Okay, I don't want to go beyond that. So I'm just adding some dimensionals as I go down. Okay, and then when I get down here, you want to add smaller ones. All right. And if you really want to get particular, you can even add a smaller one. That's you can cut it in half if you want. Oh, here, I've got one already cut. We'll do that. Do that. There we go. Okay, and then just remove the protective covering. I'm generally try to be careful with the removing of the protecting covering because, believe it or not, these little pieces find them ways in so many places, and you just go, how the heck did that get there? Okay, here, because we're using the dimensionals, we're being a little more careful. I'm lining up the bottom and lining up the top, kind of centering it through. And look at that. It's ready almost. Now, here's something I wanted to show you just because the way I am. I have a Stamparatus and I absolutely love it. They do sell positioning tools. I actually had prepared this in advance, so it was ready for today. You can see where I've already stamped the happy birthday. Okay, and then I'm just going to ink it up. I like the Stamparatus because it allows precise placement. I also learned from my previous one that for this, I don't want to press too hard, because at the other one, I had a little blurb that showed up at the bottom, and I don't want that to happen on this one. So I was more careful, but it worked perfectly. I'm going to close this and put it away. Stamparatus, if you were making a bunch of these cards with the same sentiments in it, you have this ready to go. It speeds the process. So I recommend positioning tools. If I were recommending I want a circular, I'd go this, except that Stampin' Up! Isn't carrying it right now. I hope that they return with maybe a newer, better version. But from what I've seen, this is the best I've seen, because it comes with 2 doors, and you can have 2 doors to work with. And then when you're changing things around, you may have remembered in my class where I had them set up, and then we just switched the doors around to do the secondary stamping. That's one of my regrets, is that they had to discontinue that because of legal issues. The other thing I wanted to point out, I have several different stamp sets. This one is called Stylish Shaped Dies. There are certain ones like this, and if I can grab it. Where did I move it? Oh, here it is. And then this is also another sweet item that's current. When you have layering dies like this, it gives you such a multitude of choices, and I just really think that they're worth the purchase, because later on, when you're trying to find the thing, like in this case, this one was just the right size for that sentiment. When you're trying to find just the right thing, having something to choose from makes all the difference in the world. You could basically cut squares, but this one has a little decoration around it. I don't know if you can see the little, and it just adds that little something. Now, moving that to the side, since I've got this stamped, I can go ahead and put it in. You might not want to put yours in if you haven't, done your stamping on it yet. You might want to wait, but that's up to you. In this case, I had decided that I really like this as a birthday card, and I don't mind having another one. Okay, let's get the one that needs it. All right, here we go. Boop. Line it up. Even borders. And it should close and hide it perfectly. Now, all that's left is to open a little surprise package. Oh, here we go. I already went ahead and did my stamping and die cutting, and I'm going to go ahead and put this with dimensionals. Oops, I don't want to leave my ink open because that's dangerous. Okay, I'm going to add some dimensionals. I'm adding dimensionals because I just think it helps the sentiment kind of stand out, because there's a lot of other activity on here. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to open this up, and inside, these are the die cuts that were from the Wildflower Birthday Designer Series paper. I just wanted them kept safe. That's why I layered them with the Post-it notes like that. All right, and then I'm going to bring this back over. Just kind of follow this idea. Okay, this is going to be my main piece. I want a piece coming down here. Let's see, I could go this way. All right, I'm just kind of lining things up and seeing how I like it. I think I want that up like that. Okay, just so I have an idea of where I'm going with it. And then you can use glue, but when I'm working with stuff like this, sometimes I prefer the glue dots. Okay, so okay, and let's put some glue dots. Let's see where this is going to go. Yeah. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm looking at where it's going to go, and this part is sticking up more, so I'm going to be putting the glue dot at the bottom and a glue dot on the one leaf on the right hand side. Okay, I'm using the flower kind of as a guide for the placement. All right, and then this one. Let's see. Yeah, all right. And then this one, I can probably just do some glue in here. Because we're covering it over. Okay. That gives me, again, a little wiggle room for positioning. And there we have our card. Now, if you wish to add additional elements, I didn't on this card because I've got the gold, you know, but if you wish to add additional elements, you certainly can. I did that on this one. Well, I did it both of them. Here I used the kind of the gold swirly pieces, and then these are some rhinestones that we had from an older set. Just that little touch. But your card's done. You have a beautiful card. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when I was using the Stamparatus, I pressed a little hard and I got a little ink mark there. So I used another one of the dies that came with the Wildflower birthday paper, and I just covered it over, and it looks great. So that was our first card. And let's see, how are we doing time-wise? Oh, boy. Okay. We took too long getting started, I think. We had some issues. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Just moving my stuff out of the way. I find it's easier to put things away as you go rather than hunt for them because you didn't put them away later. Next card. All right. Now this one, we have some variants because I was running low on one of my cardstocks. I did one with the green. This is the double Z-fold slider card. And you can see the Z-fold that way. but the slider part is this tab that slides right in there. It's the slider closure. And while this looks complicated, it's really not that bad. I did one with the Highland Heather cardstock behind it. And it just slides right in there. Now, I did different sentiments. For a card like this, maybe you just want a little note, like, hi, how you been? Yeah, I missed you, or look forward to seeing you soon, or something like that. Happy birthday. Again, you can put whatever sentiment you want. I'm so glad, or I can't believe you're that old, or whatever. So those are the two. One will have the Highland Heather. The other will have the Shaded Spruce. Okay. I happen to have Highland Heather. Okay. Now, I think I did this to help out because there were so many strips. And I labeled a lot of them to kind of help you figure out what is what. Now the card, okay, the card actually has several score lines already in it. The first score line on each end is going to be a mountain fold. Okay, that's a mountain fold. And this one is also going to be a mountain fold. Okay, and then the inside ones are valley folds. So that creates a card that goes like that. Now you'll notice it doesn't meet in the center. That's okay, because we are going to be covering that over. But the thing I wanted to point out is you want to make sure that these score lines are burnished really well. In fact, even going the opposite direction to break the fiber so that it will lay flatter. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm going backwards to the score I originally did to try and make it so that it folds better. Okay, and then we're going to do this again. We're going to do this again. We're going to do this again. Whoa. And this one again. No, this one. That way. Okay. Now, that's the first step. Again, the two outside scores are the mountain fold, and the insides are the valleys. Okay, now these strips, I've labeled them for you, 1, 2, and 3. What it is we're going to be, I want you to see this. This would be slightly, if you can see that difference, it's going to be slightly wider than the actual width of the card. That's okay. That's going to keep everything nice and covered. And I labeled this strip 1 because this is the one that's going to go towards the top. This one will be the slider strip that will be going in and out. And this is the bottom strip. Okay, let's see. Okay, we did that. Okay, I'm just trying to follow the instructions so that you have a chance to follow along if I step out of bounds. Okay, so when we are doing this, what I did as a guide is I took the top strip, the strip 1, and I kind of lined it up here so I could see exactly the borders. And I'm going to go within that perimeter. I'm not going to go beyond. I just want to make sure that we stay within that guideline. Then I'm going to take, I'm going to place this on here. But what I want to do is, again, I mentioned it, I want to balance the excess on either side so it's all balanced. This will be your guide. You want it lined up flat at the top, and then you have it balanced, the little extra balanced on either side. That's the strip 1. That'll open that way. Strip 2, same principle. It will be placed so it goes right next to the first strip. So I'm using that again as a guide for the placing of the glue, so I don't go beyond. You don't want a lot of glue because you don't want it squishing out, because nothing messes up something well planned as sticky glue getting in the way. And then I'm lining it up right next to the top piece and balancing it so it's the same as the top piece. That was strip 2. Strip 3, see, here we go. Here we go. Now strip 3 is going to be similar. Basically, you know where it's going to go. And I just keep the glue within the boundaries. Okay. And I press it down, make sure it's right up next to the top, make sure that it's even with the sides. Okay. And it's even at the bottom. It's supposed to be, that's what I cut it for. Okay. And we're going to let that dry for a moment. Now, the sentiment, I'm not sure if you guys have the embossing powders and the heating tools. For me, it was kind of standard supplies. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a sentiment from here. Okay, I gave you this piece for the sentiment, but I wanted to show you the process for the embossing. And what I like to do, this is my preference, is I like to have a piece that is big enough that my die cut, I can die cut out of. And then I'm just putting this on here. I should have the ink. Did I bring it over? Huh. Maybe I didn't bring it over. Oh no, I don't need that because it's supposed to mark. Never mind. Okay. Okay, what I have here is a container of white embossing powder. We'll see that in a second. And what I have here is I have the embossing buddy, and I have Versamark ink, which is a sticky clear ink. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the embossing buddy and rub it over the piece of cardstock. It's a scrap piece of cardstock to protect the surface from having random bits of embossing powder sticking to it where I didn't want it. And then I'm just taking the stamp and inking it up. Probably want to go this way. And then I'm just kind of centering it. Okay. I don't know how well you can see that. You barely see it. But that's all. It's also called a watermarking. So if you just want to have a light echo on the cardstock, you can. Now, where this comes in. And part of the reason why I like to do this way is because if I were to stamp crooked, it won't matter, because when I go to die cut it, I can straighten it out with the die, with my placement of the die. And I actually set up my heat tool so I could do this so you could watch. Because the first time I saw this happening, it was like magic. And I just always have loved this. And what I'm doing, I'm heating up the heat tool a little bit. And then I'm going to use this and kind of, you can see how it's kind of curling the paper there. You can see the back to uncurl it. But you can see how all of a sudden it gets dark. And then I look at it with the light. And when it's all shiny, I know that it's all melted and ready to go. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll simply take the die that cut this out, and I'll line it up, and I'll cut that out, and I'll have my sentiment. Now, some of you may not have white embossing powder. You can try it with black ink, but because of the dark background, you may just want to use that a piece of white cardstock and stamp a sentiment on it and put it that way. That's up to you. I love embossing powder. I think it's a great thing to have. Oops, don't want to lose my spoon. Okay. Anyway, the sentiment I grabbed, the thanks, came from, I had it the right way, came from Spotlight on Nature. I just liked the font, and it was the right size to fit. That's part of the challenge, is it's a small sentiment to go there. I used hello there, I've used happy birthday, and actually I had one already prepared that is in this folded piece of Post-it note, which has your embellishments in it. This one just says hello. Okay, so that's ready. And while we talked and visited, this has gotten nice and dry. So I'm just going to take the little labels off. You get to know me well enough, you know that Post-it note makes a lot of money off of me because I buy a lot of Post-it note. Okay. Okay, you see how it wants to pop up. That's why the creasing was so important. But I found that as I've worked with the card, it's gotten better. All right. Now, let's work on this. Let's work on the inside first. All right. Okay, these three pieces are going to be the front and center. This is going to be the inside strips. They will go here and here. This is the inside panel. That's going to go, that doesn't look right. Let's see what, I think I got the wrong label on it. Hold on. Yeah, that's the one. That goes there because this one is going to fit on the front. Yes. Okay. This is the inside panel. And then I included a little piece of white cardstock if you feel like you need to put a spot in addition to this little open space to write on. You can do that. Yeah, that's the wrong one. Okay. So, easy enough. Add the glue. I love this paper. You know, of course, I'm fond of purple anyway, but both sides of it are so pretty. It's hard to choose sometimes what side you want to show, which is one of the reasons why one of my favorite cards to make is a one that shows both sides of the designer series paper. I feel like it's a compromise. I don't have to hide it completely. Okay, just adding glue. The side pieces. A narrow border around them, like a 1/16 of an inch. And then this. Okay. Now, I'm not decided if I want to do that inside piece yet. I'm still thinking on it. So I'm not going to put mine in right now. Okay, now we're working on the front. But here's where you guys have to go to work again. We have to cut this piece. And the reason why I didn't cut it for you is because I wanted you to be able to keep the pieces in order. Now, up under the instructions, it talks about the 4 by 5 1/8 to be cut into 3 panels for the front. The first panel is 1 inch and 7/8. Now, 7/8 is just a smidge, two lines before the 2 inch. So that's going to be a cut. Make sure it's even. Okay, that's one cut. The second cut is going to be 7/8 of an inch. 7/8, which is, again, a smidge right before the 1 inch mark. And then your last one is there. Okay. Now you want them to be in order. Of course, the size helps too, but you want the picture to flow. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and add the glue. Okay, and then you're going to have a narrow border around. You want to make it even. If it makes it easier for you, you can pull that out. Oh, come on. Okay, that's one. I'm going to leave this out because it's a little easier for me to see. Got a little more glue there than I wanted. Okay. Come on. Stay lined up. Okay, almost. I'm trying to get it where I can see too. All right. And then the last one. Now, you guys are welcome to like and share now that we're almost 2 cards in with other people that you think might enjoy seeing this. Um, Also, I understand that the chatting, I understand Evelyn's got a new computer and she's not able to do that. She's usually been very good about the chatting, but the chatting is helpful too. Sometimes it's not anything in particular, just kind of, hi, how you been, kind of stuff going on, or like, how did that go again? I didn't quite catch that. And sometimes that helps me cover the areas that you need to, understand. All right. Here's another one. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, the front, middle, and we did that. Okay, now we're going to take this designer series paper, which is the reverse side. That again, both sides are gorgeous. And we're going to put that centered in the green. And you notice we're working with vellum again, but this time we are going to be conscious of the glue and vellum. We don't want the glue to show. So that's one of the things we're going to be watching. Okay, I'm going to center this. Okay. And now I'm going to be centering it over here and here. So I'm going to put glue here, but the glue's all only going to be on the, and I'm giving myself some leeway too, only going to be gone within the green, not too close to the edge because we don't want it seeping. I'm going to center it, which is why I use the glue in the first place, is it allows me to adjust to get it where I feel like it's centered. Okay. Now, vellum is not as porous as regular paper or cardstock, so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to dry. So, where this is going to go, it's going to go centered on the card, but we cannot put glue on this middle section. That middle section has to be able to slide. So I can only have glue on the card part that, or that's covered with this so the glue doesn't show through. And the way I found around that is I used this as a guide so I know how wide it is, but I used the roll-on glue and I brought it right next to the edge. Okay, not too wide, but wide enough. Okay, right next to, I don't know if you can see that. See that? Okay. I'm going to do the same thing down here, just along that center section right next to the edge. Okay, can you see that? All right, so now I'm ready to place this centered. And I'm still able to slide out. Slide in, slide out. Slide in, slide out. Okay. And then all that's left is to add your little sentiment. I'm going to bring this one in a little bit because I don't want to hide the butterfly really. Okay. And I use dimensionals in this one spot. Oop. Okay. Okay. There we go. And then we have the embellishments that I included with the kit. This is where my Take-A-Pic comes in handy. My fingers get too big. I kind of see where I'm going with some of these. Oop. And last one. There we go. And if you don't like where you've got things positioned, you can sometimes move them around. I think I want to just kind of generally decide how you want to do it. Okay. Anyway, your card is done. I didn't put the centerpiece in because I'm still deciding on how I want it to go, but I could easily do that. It's up to you. Some of the pieces of paper that I gave for the center section are larger, and you can work with that. Also, you could add a piece on the back if you wanted to add more. But there is your second card. Okay, let's get moving. Okay, time to clean up my space again. Oh, I don't want to put those away. I want to keep them out. All right, there we go. Clean up the space. Next. All right. Okay, this one is the M-Fold card. Now, this is a new one for me. I hadn't done an M-Fold before. The way it is, I took a liking to it, but the way it is designed is that you can open it this way, and you can open it this way, or you can open it this way. It stands for display, and you can see the M there. I was having fun. I used some of the butterflies I die cut from glittery paper that I think is probably retired now, but it goes well with the perennial lavender set. And ooh, there's a lot of little pieces in this one too. Again, I'm going to start with the folding of the card. You will see, oh, I covered over my instructions here. That won't work. I'm going to put that there so I can bring it out again. Okay, it was scored. First score is a valley fold. The second score, wait a minute, I had it a second ago. Second is a mountain fold. Okay, so that goes this way. Valley and mountain. And yes, I already have the third one done. Yeah, I already did the last one for you. So you have the valley, the mountain, and the valley. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little bit extra. I'm going to do the back and forth folding like we did before to help the card bend. Okay, that's a little better. Okay. All right, now we're going to get ready to start on all these little pieces. This will be, these two small ones are for the front, so we're not going to worry about those right now. You have a little packet with all the embellishments in it. You have this piece, which will be layered like that, and you'll be doing the sentiment on that. I'm going to start with the basic ones first. Now you'll note that on each of these panels, I have a white underlayer. That's what we're going to do now, is we're going to put all the whites in. So you have a lot of gluing on this one. Now I want to tell you, after putting these cards together, first I have to learn how to do it and all the parts and pieces. I have to admit, it's so much fun putting the completed card kit together because all the other work's been done. You know, it's just kind of putting it together. But at the same time, I don't like that because it looks like there's too much glue. So I'm going to take that scrap piece that I used before and I'm going to kind of spread the glue out some because I don't need it seeping. See, earlier I couldn't get the glue to come out, and now it's coming out in aces. Okay. Okay, this goes here. You want to make sure that they're lined up this way as well. You know, it's kind of centered in the section, but lined up even at the ends. Okay. Oops. Got both of them at the same time. Okay. I have one more white piece that goes in the front, but let's take care of these first. This is directional paper, so you want to pay attention to that. just center it on the white layer. As I mentioned to Cecilia, some of these cards, they're really not difficult. They're just a little tricky. And I have found that it's best that once you've done the card, that while you're still fresh in your mind, you make a second or third one. Doesn't hurt to have extra cards, but it also helps to reinforce what you learned so it stays with you longer. And having to go through the extra steps of the cutting, measuring and cutting and such helps cement it in your memory. Okay, now we're to the front. I'm trying to remember. I think I weighed this card. This card also is one that I believe will require extra postage because of its weight. But I thought it was such a pretty card that for someone special I send it to, I figure they're worth the extra postage. Again, directional paper, pay attention. You don't want your paper upside down. Okay. Okay. Now, we've got it all glued down. Let's work on the next part while that dries. Okay. Let's see, this one we can go ahead and glue. Now, oh, I wanted to tell you this a little bit. You can use what you like. When I made this piece, you can see there's decorative edges because I used that one set. Yeah, it's called Textured Note Dies. I used that one set, but I also used a technique that is you can do. The one that the set offered was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, and so as I was die cutting it, I adjusted it. I'll show you about that in a second. Let me get this on here. Okay. What I did, oop, wrong size. Next one up. Okay, you can see it's a little bit longer. What I did was I put it in the die cutting machine and I cut, and then I stopped before I came to the end, and I took it out and adjusted it down. And you can feel it line up with the grooves, and then you can finish cutting. That's a trick I think I showed in one of my earlier classes. Every now and then, you just need to be tricky and do stuff like that. Now, you could just measure it and just cut and just have a plain piece if you wish. That's up to you. Okay, so that's glued, that's glued. All right, now we're going to work on this. What I did, and I have to thank Rhonda for the idea. We were doing a card and she chose the sentiment big hugs with a smile on her face because it reminded her of what her and her friend often said to each other as big hugs. I know I got the ink. Where did I put the ink? Okay, so much for being organized. I hid it from myself. That's what I did. Okay, what I have here is I die cut. Well, I have several die cuts, but I'm trying to remember what this is. Oh yeah, I remember now. All right. I die cut this out. Now, as a decoration, let me show you in the card itself. And then it didn't leave a lot of room for sentiment. But you know what? The big hugs fit for me. However, if you need a larger sentiment, what you can do is you can simply cut this down. You know, maybe just have it down at the bottom and put your larger sentiment up here. Now, for the class, I'm going to complete what I have here, but you don't have to glue this piece on until you are ready with your sentiment. You know, that's up to you. So you can just hold these aside and complete it later. What I'm doing is I'm just picking up ink, and this is a very juicy pad. Ooh, okay. Let's make sure we don't have it too juicy. Hold on. It doesn't want to stick. Sometimes they get that way. And usually what you do is you, in fact, I'm going to do it with this too. You can wash it with soap and water, and it helps revive the stickiness. I'm going to make that sure that's stuck now. I'm going to tap very lightly so it doesn't get crazy. Okay, I'm going to put big hugs here. Okay. And then I'm just going to add the little branch. And what I'm going to do is another favorite trick. Okay. When I am working with a detailed die cut like that, you can go and use a fine tip bottle and dot the glue on it. You can. My favorite way of working with it is I use and Tombow glue, which is this, remains sticky after it dries. So you can actually use this to make your own little mini glue dots. But I didn't want that on my silicone mat to have sticky spots. So what I do is I use, tacky glue, which also dries clear, but doesn't leave it sticky. Okay, and then I just take and I dip my sponge in it, and I put it, and I hold it down because I don't want it to dance around, really, if I can avoid it. And I dab the glue on with the sponge so it's not so heavy. And then I can just lay it on there. Now, if I remember correctly, this was a little bit long, and I don't want the little edge to show, so I'm going to snip just a bit. Okay. Move my stuff out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Crafting. I love it, but it gets so messy so quickly. Okay. So, now that that's done, I'm ready to glue this on. There we go. Again, that glue's coming out pretty generously. I don't want it so generous. There, that's better. Okay. I got a little bit of glue on my finger, so I got a little bit of glue on that. I'll let that dry for a bit while we look at the next step. In fact, I'm going to put a little weight on that. Boop. That's a little tile somebody gave me one of the retreats I went to. While that's drying, let's work on our butterflies. In this case, what I did was I kind of, okay, we're going to have to clean the butterflies up, you know, pop out those little pieces that didn't get popped out earlier. Okay. And then we have the little body of the butterfly, which I'm going to put with a glue dot. And with these glue dots, the body is a little narrow, so I'm going to take, I don't see how big and round. Let's get the light so you can see it there. Big and round it is. I'm going to kind of roll it up so it's more of a strip instead of a dot. And I'm going to put that on the body of the butterfly. Again, thankfully, the Take a Pick works great. And then I can add that to the butterfly. That's one. Let's finish the other one. Okay. And find my other body in here. Same steps. Oh, here. Roll it up. So it's more of a strip instead of a dot. Put it on the butterfly body. Okay. And add it. Trying to get it so the shadow's not in the way. Add it to the butterfly. Okay, 2 butterflies ready. Now, With these die cuts, you can tell the front from the back because the back will be kind of rough or raised edged where the front will be smooth. And what I did was I just kind of added them to the bottom here. It's kind of a random flowers. And the butterflies, I just kind of arranged them in a manner that was pleasing to me. Now what you could do, and I think I will this time, is simply take, and the wider section on the butterfly fits the glue dots just fine. So you put that over the glue dot and you have a glue dot ready to go. I'm going to do the same with the second one. Okay, we're good. All right. And then with these guys, because they're smaller, I'm going to do that same trick I did before with the glue and the sponge. I'm turning it so the back side's up, the rough side. And I'm going to add a little more glue. Oh, wait. You may be lucky. See, this one has white on the back. That's because I used a piece of cardstock that I previously added an adhesive sheet to the back. So all you have to do for that one is take off the protective covering for the adhesive sheet. There we go. And it's ready to go. Now, I haven't talked too much about adhesive sheets, but they can be a time saver. And what I did was, because I was cutting out large die cuts, I used a large section where I used a lot of the adhesive sheet. Well, I had scraps left from that. And these were small, and they worked perfectly with that little scrap. So if you got lucky and got a piece of the darker purple die cut with the white on the back, you can use the adhesive sheet, pull off the cover, and there you go. There's my sponge again. And then I just hold it down and sponge the glue on. Okay. And then for this, I have the glue dots on them. Okay. And then for this piece back here, this one that goes in the back, I added another one of those right there. While we're at it, we might as well do that. Let's see. There we go. So that one's ready. Clean up some of my mess here. All right. Now, in here, I have some sequins, which I added to one of the flowers clusters and the butterflies. The butterflies got the bigger one, and the flower got the smaller one. Let's see, right in the center. Just added a little touch. Okay, Come on. There we go. Sort of like putting earrings on, right, Veronica? Anyway, that puts together the front piece. Now, what we need to do is we need to make sure that our layers work like they're supposed to. I'm going to move this out of the way. Basically, I just kind of centered this. Move that out of the way. Top to bottom, side to side. There we go. That needs to be done first. Then for this piece, we need to make sure that it's going to hide that layer. So, okay, I see where I need my glue eraser again. Hold on. There it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting glue, but I'm only going to be putting it on this back here. I still want to use glue because I'm going to need to adjust. And the way I did this was I lined this up, making sure it covered that panel, and then laid it down on the flap. So then it covers completely. Okay, that's one. Now this one, similar process, except that we want it so that, and I'm going to do this so you can see it. See that little white border? We want it like that. So I'm going to put glue only on this narrow strip here. So okay, and then I'm bringing it around to me this way so I can see what I'm doing and make it even before I actually apply the glue. You can see that. I'll move my fingers so you can see. Oh, gotta be careful. While it's still wet, it can slide around. Okay, there we go. We are ready. Look at that. Boop, boop. I just think it's so pretty. Don't you think the person who opens their envelope and get this special card? Oh, fun to think about. Okay. Now, let's put things back so that I can find them when I need them again. This next card is fun. Just plain fun. I was cleaning up my box of scraps, and I was looking at the papers, and I'm thinking they're so pretty, which is why I didn't throw them away in the first place. Here are some samples. I wanted to point out that when you do this with your scraps, it's easiest if you maybe pick a package of designer series paper, because they tend to coordinate well with each other, to work with them that way. but you don't always have to do that. And Rhonda proved that one time when we did a card like this. She picked out some beautiful papers that were nowhere near related. Now this one, I was using the toadstool garden or whatever paper, but I also used cardstocks that also echoed the colors. And I wanted to show this to you. Now this one was just simply stripes. And they're not all the same width, and they're not all DSP. Some of it is cardstock. This one I used cardstock, I used the DSP, but I put stripes this way, and then I had these come in and meet it. Okay, and then when I'm finished, I'll just add the sentiment wherever I decide I want to put it. But I wanted to leave this open so you could see that they don't always have to be just stripes. I did just stripes on this one again. I just love that paper, and it's just so fun. This one, I actually started out with blocks. I had some blocks of scraps, and then I started with a 3, and then I improvised and added others in around it. So I just wanted to point out that you don't have to use all stripes or all strips. You can use blocks, and you can go from different directions. The card we're going to do now, oh, I have one more to show you. I got my color printer fixed. This one, the happy birthday one, this is another one where I did strips, but I did all strips on this side, and then I had some coming in from the other direction. What I was doing is I had strips left over from when we created the butterfly cards, and some of them were embossed. And you can see the embossing in the picture, I believe. You can see the designs. Well, what I did was I put this together, and it reminded me of a quilt. And so the person who got this card is a person who actually owns a quilt shop. And I thought it would be special for her, and she loved it. We have the 4th of July coming. And when I was going through the scrap box, I had a lot of red, white, blue, a lot of white. And I also had a little bit of this holographic, kind of a holographic vellum paper, not really vellum, but holographic paper. And I just thought, oh, that would make a nice touch. And then I also decided, well, what about fireworks? I didn't like the happy, it was kind of plain before. I said, let's add a little sparkle. So I found it's called Like the Sky. It's retired now, but it was done just recently retired. But it was had dies to go with it, and I took one of the dies to cut out the fireworks, and then I added the gold sparkle paper behind it to just add that little extra. The 4 I cut from, I had blue foil paper in my stash, and I cut that from it. So basically I'm using a lot of my various pieces of stash. This is a fun card to do. It's really not so difficult, but it is, well, it makes me feel good to use my scraps, but it also, I think, looks very festive. Now, in your kit, you'll find the card base, and you'll find, I believe it's 4, yeah, it's probably 4 by 5 1/4 piece of white cardstock. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be building this. It might be best to kind of separate your scraps out into the different colors so you know what you're doing. Okay, so this kind of, let's see, this was kind of more towards the center. Okay, it was like starting right below the point. Okay, and then we have white, several pieces of white. What we're going to do is we're going to take, and these two pieces here I use for end pieces. We're going to take the white base of cardstock. And in this case, I do not use liquid glue. I found that it's too easy for the glue to seep through the cracks. So the way you start it is I put tape runner along the edges. And then I do kind of like a grid in the center. To help hold the pieces as we apply them. Now I'm going to start with this one piece of the red. In fact, I'm kind of use it as a guide. Okay, I'm going to go just kind of at the corner there and bring it down. All right, and then I have a piece of white I used after that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it right up next to the red. I kind of press against it. And let's see, that one didn't get close enough. I want it close. I want it close, 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 close. There. Okay. And then I have this blue. I'm going to move this down so you can see it. I have this blue that should fit right here. Again, I'm pressing right next to. Come on. Okay. And then look, I have a little strip of this. Let's do this side first. Right next to it. But you know, I'm leaving extra out here. I want it to go beyond the edge of the cardstock. Come on. There. Okay. Right along the edge of the cardstock. Okay, and then we had a blue strip. Let's add a blue strip. Right next to it. Okay, and look, there's another white strip. After the blue, just make sure it extends beyond, right next to and extends beyond the card edge. Okay, here's a little bit of red. Let's add a little touch of red with stars on it, right next to, and then we have the blue again. Looky there. And then we have this piece of red that will fit right there. Okay, now we're not quite done, but I need this piece here. What I'm going to do, and for this I'm going to use bigger scissors. You can turn it over and see from the other side and just kind of cut along the edge of the cardstock. Okay. Now I have this piece ready to go for the other part. So I'll move these off to the side. All right, now let's finish this up with another piece of this right next to the edge of the blue, and then one piece of red to finish it off. Yeah. Okay. Now we go back to the cutting again. Okay. There you go. Hey, how about that? Okay, make sure you have the right side of the card. I always check to see if there's one edge that's slightly larger than the other, and I use that larger edge for the front. And then we're going to glue this down. Glue this down right on top of that. Let me move some of the scraps and stuff to the side. That's good. Okay. Now, let's glue that down. Oh, I wanted to mention too, if you have trouble, maybe uneven cutting, like I had a little bit of problem here. If it's really bad, you can take this to your trimmer and trim the edges. It's not critical, but it just makes it nice and neat. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. This is a fun card, and my goodness, it didn't take very long to do. But again, it's picking out your pieces. Lay them out ahead of time so you have an idea what direction you're going, and you know that they're long enough for the section you're doing. Remember, some of the pieces were short, and I use those for the corners. There we go. Now we work on their label. Okay, and I'm going to need, okay, I have this little piece of Designer Series paper, glittery Designer Series paper. It's going to go behind here. One side is a little bit narrower than the other, and what I designed it to do is I'm going to put little glue dots on each of the corners so it didn't interfere with glue in the firework portion. There it is. I like the glue dots because they really are super sticky. They work really well. And I like them because they basically are dry, even though they're sticky. And so you don't have to worry about them seeping. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's in place. And let's do our happy. I should have done that earlier. I may pay for that one. Oh, let's see. I think I maybe used it out of here. Let's see the original. Nope. Well, I think I've got the wrong set. Found it. Okay, birthday celebrations. You want the happy? And we want the TH because it's the 4th. Okay, let me clean this one and use this real quick. Okay. Oop. All right, and then we need the blue. Okay, and we want the happy. Okay. And then I'm going to use the same trick as I did before. Well, with the glue and the sponge. Okay. Okay. And then a glue dot for the TH. Okay, and then we just add some dimensionals to the back. Move these out of the way. Now these were some challenging cards, but I think they're worth the effort because they turned out so nice. I'll go one more there. Doop. And remove the covers. Okay. And here's our card. Here's our greeting. Happy 4th of July. Now, I took a little longer than I thought I would, so I'm not going to keep you too long. I do know that we have this class coming up using the what's it called? The Kintsugi technique. Anyway, I do have some various ideas for you. When I did for this card, the spatters, I used a stamp, but there's some other possibilities you can use. And I was experimenting with that. But I'm not going to go into that a little bit later. Maybe I'll do a short video on it just so you have an idea of what you can do. But anyway, this is only one of the 4 cards I have planned. They're not as intense as the ones we did today, but they are just so elegantly beautiful that they're really worth the effort. Anyway, thank you for coming. I'm glad you were able to join us today. I hope you enjoyed these cards as much as I did. That's really quite a display of cards. Let me get them out here. And here's one. Whoop. There's another one. And the big one. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today. I got a big mess to clean up because I dropped everything everywhere. But if you enjoyed this, share your fun with other people. And I understand that giving me a thumbs up or a like is always helpful with the YouTube channel to help me let more people know about it. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you enjoyed these cards. I'm sorry. When I get busy creating these, it's so much fun. I just don't want to stop. So anyway, you take care and let me know your thoughts if there's something I can do to improve on. I am still learning. I'm trying my best, and hope to see you next time. Take care, everyone.